I'm starting to
asking to hear
We're ready to start.
Didn't work.
I am good to go. Yeah.
All right, we are at the City of Green River Regular Planning Commission on Tuesday, January 16th. It is 7:02 p.m. In attendance for the Planning Commission, we have Kim McFarland, Kent Johnson, Jeff Crabtree, Dustin Gingrich. Absent is Tammy Howland.
Do you want to invite an alternate up?
Yeah, we can if you want. Might as well fill it.
Like select one though? That's weird.
Would all one of the alternates like to have a seat tonight?
Go ahead, Glenna.
Okay.
She's on commission.
So the Planning Commission has two alternates. In the event that we have an absent commission regular member, one of the alternates can take a voting seat. All right, so we will start our agenda with a public
You
hearing.
need to include her name.
Glenna Brown is now at the table. Start our agenda with a public hearing. We have two items on the public hearing that we will discuss separately. The first item is a zone change request on parcel 01-154B-0044 located on South Green River Boulevard from residential 1 to either residential 2 or residential 3. That's left hinging. This was presented to us prior, so the council is already aware of this. It's left hinging because we didn't give them a recommendation either way when they presented before, so they're kind of applying to rezone either one based on our voting recommendation.
Was this lot of communities? Oh, this is the Meadows.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let you guys just give kind of a quick, so everybody's on the same page in the room, for public comment on this if you want. Just for you.
This is the property straight across from the state park that Chet just sold.
Yes, sorry, I should kind of
Okay.
orient people. So straight across.
Come up to the front.
Straight across from the state park, kind of where it's overgrown next to the.
So you get the letter.
So, as you're looking at this, it's
I'll have to find the
north of
location
there.
first.
Okay, so north is, you're coming down Green River Boulevard. Yeah, we want to be able to bring in some single-family homes. Also be able to have some options for people in Green River that maybe can afford a single-family home. We would like to be able to offer some other ideas that we're used to up north that we're not seeing in Green River that I think can help people still afford homes. And that would be like one in my lots I was looking at, that very first one I drew a square in it. So that first one, just had the shape of the lot and stuff, I was looking at possibly doing just an idea of a home with an apartment above a garage, whether it be an in-law apartment, an ADU that someone could rent to help supplement their income or their payment. We wanted to do this because when we first moved from Green River, we moved up to Spanish Fork. Donna built a subdivision, all the homes in it, one of the lots, multiple lots in there. They had townhomes, they had single-family homes, they had homes with accessory apartments. The house that we built had an detached apartment with or detached garage, with an apartment above it. It paid more than half of our payment, and it allowed us to be able to afford a home that we normally would not be able to do. And so I think that people at Green River, so many people are just stuck renting for the rest of their life, so they can't afford to build and do that. So we want to be able to do that, have some more options if,
Let me interject real quick, to give an explanation. So our R1, R2, R3 is kind of what we're referencing here. R1 is our biggest lot sizes and biggest home sizes as far as our minimum. R2 is a little bit of a different one that we'll discuss more, and then R3 just allows for smaller lot sizes and smaller homes. So that's where they're coming in with the zoning request, is to zone it to allows smaller or more of these multi kind of homes.
That's an R3 then?
That's an R3.
How
It
many-
allows for that.
How many are there?
How many we looking
the
for?
way we have it drawn up, I think it was 9. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You're just looking at like a
9
circular
homes.
road going in and around and back out.
So go in, cul-de-sac, come back out. So there would be 9 lots. I could possibly throw I left room for a retention pond that is required. I don't know how large that needs to be. That's for an engineer to decide that. So I have the area. I put a walking path, bike path that can go around that area. So I think that'd be nice for people in there to be able to, have a place to go around and outside their own home and stuff for kids to play and things. So I just want to have more options for the townspeople to just not build a, 1,500 square foot home that honestly costs $380,000. And how many people can really afford that?
In this county?
Yeah, people that have bought their house for $20,000 4 years ago now sell it and make all the money they can now pay cash for a home. There are people that can do it. Normal people that are just working in town, they can't afford that.
Right.
And it's sad because we want to be able to help people, but we can only do so much too because the cost is what it costs. But to be more open to the different options, when I know that that's what we did to help us support our first home that we built. And when you're talking, we had I don't know how many square foot our house was, over 3,000 square foot, our payment was $600 a month. I mean, things were cheaper back then, but still, when half of our payment was paid by our renters, it's going to open up so many people being able to afford a home. So that's the reason why we're wanting to change it to R3 so we can have more options. Now, there could be some people that want to, hey, I want a single family home, that's all I want. Great, we'll do that. We'll do whatever people want, but I want people to not be stuck with that's the only option to do that.
These aren't townhomes then?
No.
Okay.
Not saying that's not, we do believe that's a good idea for the town.
I have a problem with townhomes in that a lot of places I live, especially when I see what's going on in Spanish Fork, that's usually where I start seeing high crime. And when it comes to roof repairs, one gets repaired, the other side doesn't. One side leaks. I'm seeing this in Junction 2 now with people trying to repair roofs. So that's one reason I have a problem with townhomes.
It's not a bad idea as far as affordability, but yes, there is obviously other things. And people are hearing, I don't love townhomes just because it, to me, feels more city-like, and it's not green. I don't know, it's just different. But I think a twin home, where you have 2 houses right next to each other, you're able to share some of those costs with things. I think that is a good idea with an apartment above a garage that you're able to, whether it be a family member, teenager that's moved out, but they can't afford their own apartment, that they're able to rent from mom and dad and whatever, or to somebody else. I know we hear a lot of people that are living in Moab and living in their cars because they have nowhere to live down there. And they try and find them. There's no housing in Green River, so there's nothing they can do either. But it could be a perfect place for a single mom, or not mom, single person to come and they just need a studio apartment or something.
No, I'm not against that kind of a thing where you got somebody above a garage.
Yeah.
It's just looking at these townhomes, you get 4 or 5 of them, and pretty much that's it. I was talking to an officer up in Bountiful where the Smiths and Grand Central were originally, and some other things. And they crammed in so many townhomes there, the fire department can't really get in to fight fires, and the police will not go in on a call because it's trying to turn around. There's no room to turn around with those rigs. You're good in that you can go around, but...
there were certain requirements that it had to have. You have to have a certain width of a cul-de-sac. You have to have. So I made sure that the width of all the roads, it works for fire.
That's a lot better.
So
like I said, some of these places, they just put that in, and the afterthought was like the emergency services going, we can't turn
I don't
around.
know how they didn't approve it to begin with, because I have friends that are trying to do
It's
the same
amazing
thing
what
and
they
they're
got
not
away
allowing
with.
them because the road's not that wide enough. So
I think the thing that makes this proposal a little bit unique is why we're hinging on this R2, R3. What she's already discussed is pretty straightforward. She's just kind of wanting to subdivide in a smaller parcel size than what is allowed right now. what you see.
Oh, sorry, that's my
Or
fault.
we're looking at- we're looking at about
I'll let them finish and show.
Are you
So
talking
the
about
other
for-
part is,
What you see on the front of that is, and I can let her discuss a little more, but I just wanted to kind of jump to where we're hinging on these two separate ones and what a little bit of the discussion might be with that. The parcel closest to the road there, it's the large one with the smaller squares in them, proposing almost like a campground-like parcel with cabins on it that would be more in a nightly rental basis. That exact description of something doesn't currently sit within our code. And what I can most closely see related to that would be a mobile home park. I think it fits.
I found something. If I
Go ahead. Yeah, if you
Well,
have
I'll-
something different.
can I share on the actual item instead of this public hearing?
We're going to wait till public to.
Well, we have to vote on one or the other, so that's where I'm trying to get where one or the other
Oh,
fits
okay.
better or not.
They
But
fit
they're
in either.
Outside of the public comment.
But I'm letting them comment on like which direction we're.
Yeah, it can fit in either. To be
Okay.
honest,
If it's good, if it can fit in either, then.
so the question that we have, that Don and I aren't sure about, we are going to talk to David about it, is according to the zone, it says that for nightly rentals, they need to be 450 square foot cabins, which is a large cabin. You don't see that in a campground normally. They're not that big. Like, even at the KOA, they have a deluxe cabin. It's tiny. Like, is their deluxe cabin renting out for a few $100, but it's tiny, and I have, according to the zone, even the R3 at 450 square foot, the cost to build that is the cost of building a mini home, and I couldn't even rent it out enough to probably pay the payments on what that's costing to build. So, talking to David a little bit, he was saying there might need to be some more discussion on, is there any type of, I don't know, I guess I'm not quite sure what the conditional use with things, I don't know if there's any way of doing a smaller for the cabins than 450 square foot. With my layout there, I have like some that are 15 by 25, some larger ones. I want to be able to have it so a family can come in, they can stay in one cabin, or if they have, you know, a few brothers, sisters in their own families, they can come and stay in a different cabin, but still make it reasonable for cost, because the 450 foot cabin or 450 square foot cabin, and everyone has to be that size. That's just a lot of money, and I want to make it, just like the homes, I want to make it affordable for people to build and live in a home. You got to also make it affordable for people to rent a nightly cabin.
What size is your average hotel room?
What are they, Don? 12. How big is the average hotel room? 12 by
Anywhere from
20-ish?
by 20?
20 by 20.
Yeah.
So I was looking at these at like,
325 square
Anywhere
foot.
from 200 to 350. Yeah.
Yeah.
so I was looking at these at like 12 to 15 by 25. So they're bigger, but to double that, it's just,
You're talking about a hotel suite.
yeah, it's a very big hotel suite. And like I said, I don't want to just have this for families only. I want to be able to have, you know, newlyweds come in and they don't have to rent this 450 foot cabin that's $400 a night. You know, what's the point of that, to make everyone that same size? So to me, I feel like he was saying, just in more discussion, is there any way of, because he said that we're not the only ones that's coming in and saying, hey, we're interested in some tiny homes. Is there any way, because I was thinking, okay, I could do, you know, there's a loft, we could put that in, the loft plus the main floor adds it to 450. But if we have to do main floor 450,
Yeah.
that's where it doesn't make a lot of financial sense to build cabins that big. But for us, our person doing that, and I'm trying to, and I talked about it last month, I'm trying to do the houses where they are now backing houses that are currently there. People's backyards now are somebody else's backyard, like a normal subdivision would be, and keep the campground next to, is it AOK, what they call it now?
I can.
I
I don't
can.
know.
It's
Change
the
names.
sound.
The ICAM. So the cabins would be next to the ICAM, so you're not having, and the entrance to the cabins would be over on that end. I'm trying to keep that entrance to the subdivision separate. So I was trying to consider of everybody and be able to bring in some type of a, I don't know, a business for us that we could come back to Green River as a family at some point and be able to continue to work here instead of Don here and us gone. So that's the purpose of us wanting to do it, and it's been a dream of ours to always do something like this, and I think that at this time, it's going up everywhere. Moab, Hanksville, they've done this, they're going up everywhere. It's only a matter of time before it becomes greener, and I think why not us? It's been, to me, I feel like this is our home, where we've grown up, and we're still here he's here more than he's ever
You only
home.
want to do it for 4 of them in?
Huh?
You only want to put 4 in?
That's the cost it costs to get 4 in, and when you're talking $450, or, like right now I have it drawn, I think, like 9 of them or something like that. But if I can keep them.
So I don't think we have to get into the specifics of the design, not that,
Yeah,
I just don't want people to critique your design,
Yeah.
that's not what we're here for.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a matter of design, it has to do with the square footage too, and that's where.
So the overall plan is subdividing the entire parcel into individual single-family home lots. Then there's be a larger parcel on the street side that would be essentially kind of a cabin nightly rental. And David, we had some question on that aspect. Didn't immediately fit within our code of what we found before. And David said he's kind of found a solution that could work in R2 or R3 to still fit within our code.
So with that, we can do, because if we look at R2, yeah, you're good. If in R2 conditional use, we can use a tourist home. R3, we can conditional use do a tourist home. And then the ordinance that allows us is the Article E of 1010D1, motels, hotels, and other lodging, which are going to be our tourist home. And the part that we're running into with the size of it is, it says all these are subject to restrictions and conditions within the zone requirements. So it's based on what zone we rezone it to. R2 and R3, the lowest we have currently is 450 square feet. This isn't in the RDA zone to be able to change or have a conditional use for that square footage.
So you should get to know me when I start talking about mobile home parks.
Yeah, so we can use the 1010E.
So our R2, which I referenced before, was a little bit weird. We don't currently have anything in town zoned as R2. R2 was written up basically talking about manufactured homes.
Didn't
Factories.
we approve the lot on Green River Boulevard to be in R2?
Yeah, we did. So we do have.
So we do have one parcel, I guess. So our R2 is written up to be basically factory-built homes. Historically, the mobile home park areas were zoned as that. They've been phased out and rezoned out of that. That was some choice prior to me. I think prior to a lot of us to zone those out of being in compliance. But R2 is the only zone right now that recognizes the ordinance of mobile home parks. And the reason I was looking at that is it fits in a way of having a larger parcel with smaller homes on them in a way. But there are other standards within our mobile home park ordinance here that talk about common areas, that talk about roadways to it, that talk about other things that are going to me, add a little more standard on the entire area of how you look at that as a full parcel with other homes on it.
Is it changed? Is their square footage still the 450 though? Like, is there anything in the mobile home that they can consider that it would able to allow us to change
There's
them?
stuff about how close you can put them. I don't believe there's anything in my quick browse of it as far as a size per each.
Would it not be the same size as a hotel room? If that's what it's going to be used as?
Well,
Because it wouldn't be a residence which would meet that would have to meet the 450 square foot minimum. I would think it would be more of a hotel space that wouldn't have to meet that minimum.
not according to our code. Our code says it has to follow whatever zone, whatever requirements that it's zoned for. Now, if you wanted to zone it for commercial and make them hotel room sizes, that's a different story. But I don't think we want commercial zone, and that's up to you guys to decide in that area. So we can use residential 2, residential 3. And the reason why we have 2, like you were saying, is because we thought we may have to use the mobile home park. But we actually have another ordinance for lodging of tourist homes that we can follow. But it just says we have to follow whatever zone that it's under.
But R2 does say
R
450
two
square
says
feet
450. So yeah, as far as the zone goes, that could be R2 or R3. However, you guys think the zoning map lays out better. There's technically more R2 uses around that area.
I mean, we had discussed it as a commission of, looking at, I would either like to abolish our R2 and make it just 2 residential zones, or I think we should look where R2 is applicable to rezone that back into the city.
Can you continue the public comment?
Yeah.
Yeah, does anybody have any other comments, questions about the
I guess the
proposal?
question I would have is, I'm not really up to speed on what, I know a lot of our campgrounds, including the state park, have got cabin rentals that are nightly. Is there any restriction on what the square footage of they buildings that have been put up? Does that sort of kind of fall back and look at?
Yeah, just restricted on, because they're in an open space, which doesn't really necessarily have any development. I mean, open space is designed to not have development, but I believe that the park was there before we even had a zoning.
But I mean, across KOA has them, Shady Acres has them, they all have these cabins that are rental cabins.
There's probably some sort of minimum limit.
That's where I feel like I'm like, they're there, they're just in another campground, so why are we?
Is that something to kind of?
So that falls.
Yeah, but is there anything that is there based on square footage requirements in the commercial that you'd kind of be able to mirror
I think that's
per
gonna
request?
fall
The
within-
iCamp commercial?
That's going to fall within building code, I believe.
It's
Like
not-
Shady Acres doesn't have any kind of bathroom facilities or kitchen facilities in them, so they can go a lot smaller than if they did have those, because a lot of those building code standards come with a bathroom kitchen. That's where they're regulating you. I would imagine there's probably within the code somewhere of just a living space, but also it's a little bit of a design aspect as well. If it's an awful
I was
tiny
just
space,
trying to
nobody's
think
gonna-
outside the box, give you
What
somewhere to
area
go.
do we really need? I mean, if you look at the old little range or bunkhouse type cabin up the road here, it's got a shower, toilet, kitchen, little living room, and a bedroom. That's just that little building there. I mean, it just depends on how big they want to get in. I mean, you might get a double bed in that room, but.
So right now, we're restricted by what our code is saying.
So what is
Not
the
necessarily-
iCamp, did you say? What is their zone?
iCamp is a grandfathered non-conformance use. They were in conformance when they started, and now they are no longer. So if they wanted to put more cabins in, I couldn't let them. That's kind of how that works. The only place as far as cabins, you got the front section of Shady Acres and KOA. They are in compliance, or
Commercial, so.
yeah, they're in commercial.
And they're probably commercial campground, which then has different.
Yeah, then campgrounds have its own regulation.
That's different building code.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was a square footage to give you something to kind of look at to mirror, so you don't have different sizes, different zones.
Did you have a comment or question? Ken?
I was just going to ask about the ICANN, and as far as I'm concerned, as a councilman and a citizen of Green River, I think we need to do whatever we can to make this work. We have somebody coming in here wanting to spend money and invest in our community to make it better. Right now, that field's just a field of trees. It's a huge fire hazard.
What trees?
And we have comparable uses around that piece of property. You go across the street, we have the state park where they have cabins, they have camping places. You go down the street just a little bit, and it's also there. So, just because a property is already zoned a certain way doesn't mean that's the way it has to be used forever,
That section is
and that's what they're
broken off.
requesting.
You're wondering, but
So
I don't know what zone.
to that point, we're here for a zoning change. So we should
Yeah.
say R2 or R3. And then when they come back forward, or even after this meeting, we can review that lodging and motel ordinance, or even review the
So,
square footage at a later point.
R2 seems to allow some more flexibility then.
Mm-hmm.
If it does end up fitting better within a mobile home park spec,
It's already there.
we're already allowing it with the R2, so.
Yeah. So for zoning change, yeah, I mean, we're not on that item yet, but just as public
Any
hearing.
other public comment on this? Thank you. All right, so we'll get to the vote after the public hearing's over. So B, changes to the fence ordinance 10-12-7, including but not limited to setback requirements, height regulations, and zones. So fence ordinance got brought to our table kind of by David, but also by people in the public coming to David with fence questions or concerns. And we went over looking at some of the aspects of our fence ordinance, and David has, I think, are you talking about both of them? Or?
Yeah, me and Tyler really
Okay.
have kind
So
of.
they have two different ones they've kind of drafted up.
Yeah. So if you want, I'll go over it. We have two different options. Currently, how our code is written, it says you can have a site-obscured fence 3 feet tall in front of your home, and you can't get any taller than that until you get 40 feet back from the road, and then you can go up to 6 feet. Now, you can have 4 feet in front of your house if it's non-obscuring, like chain link, etc. What this code, the first option we have is we change that to...
So it's 40 feet no matter what your setback was.
Yeah, no matter what your
So our
setback is.
setbacks are different in the different residential zones, either 20, 25. So really, like your house was set back, could be set back 25, your fence had to be set back 40 by the prior.
Yeah. So this option just says shall not extend beyond the front of the primary structure or require front setback. So basically, wherever your house is, if you had to do 20, 25, you can start there. Or if your house is 15 feet because it's an older home, you can start at the front of your home. There's that option. The second option is we just say you can have a not site obscuring fence up to 6 feet before you need a building permit. So you can have, there's no setbacks basically, and you go up to 6 feet around your entire property. Unless you have a building permit, then you can go even higher.
But you can build up to 6 feet.
But you can build up to 6 feet as long as it's not site obscuring. Yeah.
I like this idea because if you have a dog and you want to fence up your front yard and you have to keep it at 4 foot, that dog's going over that fence. You know, if you can put a 6 foot non-site obscuring fence around the whole thing, that makes sense to me. So.
There is a second one. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this one. I just remembered.
Comment over here.
If we go with the setback of the front of your home, for industrial, commercial, and agriculture zones, it'll be administratively approved depending on what height your fence is. So they could be higher than the 4 feet without the setback, just administratively approved. Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Whenever it's appropriate. So we are looking at a house on 100 North. It's Doris Randolph's house.
Oh, okay.
And so, in theory, you could put a privacy fence where the alley is, and then as you come up on the west side, there is like a dirt access road that creates quite a bit of dust. But that parcel is like an additional one than the house.
Yeah.
Could you then do your privacy fence going all the way?
Under our current code, no. You have to go 40 feet.
But what
back.
if you go to your 6 foot? If
6
you
foot?
Approve that.
No.
That wouldn't be a privacy fence.
Yeah.
So
You can have a 6
You
foot
go
fence
to the
as long
house.
as.
Are you talking to the house or to the road?
To the road on the parcel beside where the house is.
So you wouldn't be able to do the site obscuring from the front of the house to the road on any of it.
Currently, it's 40 feet.
Not on.
Right, but
side
currently
obscuring.
it's 40 feet. But with either of the proposals, it would still be the front of the house
Yeah.
forward needs to be non-site obscuring.
Yeah, but it can be up to 6 feet.
Okay.
Now, if it was
Or
4 feet,
4 feet.
it could be you could block it to 4 feet, couldn't you?
3 feet.
Oh, 3
That's what
feet.
currently
Okay.
you're at.
Well, but
So you could go privacy,
So-
side obscuring up to the house line. Then you either have to drop it and still be side obscuring, or you could go full 6 feet potentially with these choices. and you'd have to be chain link or something you can see through.
It's not to the road, it's to a separate parcel. Will it have nothing to do with the road besides
Are the
security?
parcels side by side to the road, or are they?
No.
It is, yeah, from Doris, right? It's the
The
one
west
that's
side,
just,
there's not a road.
there's like a
It's
lot of
just-
people ride there.
They
side
just
by
dirt
side.
But I don't
It's a
think
dirt
it's not
pond.
really a road.
Okay.
It's just that.
It's just, okay.
Yeah.
But it creates a lot of dust, so I thought a 6-foot fence
Yeah.
would eliminate a
Good,
lot of
you
that
do on the
dust.
road.
Yeah, you could up to the house, and then you could drop lower and still do a solid fence.
Okay. And this probably isn't quite the time, but is there plans to pave that road?
That's for your council members.
Okay.
So I have any comments on kind of the two different options? Anybody have a yay or nay on, do you have another?
Are you gonna pull it up, her spot? Yes. Just for looking at the,
Yeah, I can do it.
I think they go, I was just asking. You're in charge.
Yeah.
There you
Just for clarity's sake, because it got brought up, we could basically, under any of these options, you can go up to 6 feet starting at the front setback of your home as being site or security fence.
Okay.
And you can go security fence like this.
Yeah.
Now you can, the 6-foot option, you would have to then become chain link or something that's see-through starting here
Okay.
and around your front.
Okay.
But yeah,
And then you could bring it all the way back to your house, that privacy fence from where the yellow
yeah,
road.
like to here. Yes, you could do that.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a question. There's an existing 5-foot chain link fence all around this property. Does that have to be removed before you can put up a new fence?
No. Are you wanting? I guess.
We want to put a solid, either a vinyl fence or a wooden 6-foot high fence. Would you do those yellow lines?
Just right where I drew those. No,
But
you
there's
could keep the
fencing in it.
existing.
If we keep it on our side, does it have to be on the property side if we get that fence up?
So if you put it inside of that fence, I don't see any problems with that, right?
You're
Just a double
talking
fence
about
and-
this portion right here is 5 feet.
No, the round the back. So they want their privacy fence, and they want to put it inside of the existing 5-foot chain link fence.
Yeah, no, that you don't have to remove it.
So
You'll be fine.
it's a lot easier to install without that, but there is extra protection of the chain link fence protecting your vinyl fence.
So we have any other questions, comment on the two different ones?
I guess the only comment I'd have is fire 6-foot chain link fence clear out the roadway. I mean, you're on the fire department, a couple of you are. That's always been something that's been brought to my attention is, fire being able to access a residence to get over something higher than a 4-foot fence for fire prevention.
I used to be able to hop a 6-foot fence, but
You have to have some sort of vehicular access up to the house. So if you fenced all the way around your entire yard, something gated in the driveway, obviously you probably want that anyway. And then a gate, even a walk-through gate would be fine accessing the rest of the house.
okay.
And we could discuss that further. It's just sort of little.
I didn't find anything in the fire code, but I'm not as well versed as like Tammy is.
That's always been the
That's
reason
a good
I've
point.
understood that, the fence height was just fire.
I would imagine. You're going to have
Well,
some sort of access. Like
there's
you can't fence it
fire,
with no walk-through gate, no
other
anything.
EMS, there's law enforcement has to be able to get across it. You may have to drag fire hoses and stuff. I mean, for those reasons right there, and leaving aesthetics out of it, I would oppose going tall in front of houses on the front. I think that,
I would suggest put a gate, either I'm not gonna hop your 6-foot fence, so I'm gonna spray that from the road, or I'm gonna get to your house. So if you give me a gate, I'll get to your house.
Well, I think most reasonable people, if my house on fire, cut my damn fence down.
Yeah.
But, you know, and that's always been my understanding is.
Another 10 minutes.
but that's why, that's been my understanding is why it's shorter in front of the house, it's from the house forward. The reason this come up is because of the 40-foot in our rule, which we discussed that in our last meeting, like that's plumb silly. We got a 20-foot setback in R3 for your house, and your fence has to be 40 feet. Okay, it's behind your house at that point, you know. So most places you drive to, you look, the privacy fence side obscuring comes up to the front line of the residence.
Which makes total sense.
Which makes all the sense in the world.
All right, any other comments? Okay, we will close our public hearing at 7:37. Move on to agenda item 2, discuss, approve, deny zoning change request for parcel 01-154B-0044, located on South Green River Boulevard, from R1 to R2 or R3. So I think to vote, we will make a decision on one of those.
Okay, well, looking at this, Madam Chair, and I stated this in meetings before, it's perfectly legal to spot zone. There's nothing illegal about it. It happens to be terrible policy. So I would much rather see, I want to see this happen, this project, I'd like to see it happen. And we already have Love's Trailer Park down there.
Yeah, you got 2,
And
3.
got some other places there. We've got the I-Camp. I would strongly suggest changing all of that around Green River Boulevard and come up around that corner up to all the way up to Farr Street and rezone all of that as R2. That gives us more options.
We can't necessarily vote on that now, correctly?
We can't, but that would be my suggestion, what I would like to see happen. Then we have some cohesiveness. We bring together stuff that's already non-conforming, and we make it to where it is in a conforming zone.
Yeah.
Would you
Let me
entertain
ask
voting, would you entertain voting on the parcel tonight, and then our next meeting we can decide a second one?
Let me ask Todd. I don't think we can, but I'll confirm. Todd, if we're looking to, on a zoning change, pull in more property that haven't received a notice, can we pull in more property at this time, or we still have to have a new?
No, you have to give notice.
We can vote on just that parcel tonight.
That's what's
Next meeting, we can discuss what other parcels.
You would have to advertise for those other parcels.
Okay, I figured as much. I just wanted to make sure.
But
Yeah.
Rather than just delaying them on a table,
Yeah.
we can vote on.
I want to get away. We've already done this, and we did, within the last year, we voted down a spot zone to do the same exact thing to another individual, and we voted it down.
That one.
Because it was spot zoning.
That one was one parcel. Well, this is one parcel.
This
but that
is one
was
parcel.
0.17 acres. This
Yeah,
is for a
It was
development.
smaller.
Yeah.
It was smaller, for sure, but it was still a spot zone, and we declined it.
Yeah.
For those reasons. And, you know, we don't want to get into a situation where we have every property owner in the valley coming and saying, well, I want my zoning to be this, and I want my zoning to be that. Then we have this hodgepodge of stuff. So I agree with this, and I think we need to move forward with it, and I think I could go with that, Steph. Because this is a project I'd love to see happen. I just want to just have some kind of cohesion with our zoning map.
Yeah, I agree with you. I kind of lean towards with Steph and Kent Nelson. We have someone here ready to go without having to make them wait longer on the zoning change, can we make that motion tonight and then review the rest of the section and get that incorporated
That's
in?
best.
Yeah, like Steph said.
Yeah.
So a question that I have is, would it be more appropriate to split the lot and do the residential as the appropriate residential size and do the cabins as a commercial, which would give them...
You mean spot zone?
Yep.
Spot zone?
You said it was legal though,
No.
right?
Well, but I know, but doing that commercial, that would enable them to be more flexible on their cabin size. Or designated as a campground would be, what would the campground designation be?
Commercial.
That would have to be in commercial zone or open space.
So the campgrounds that are next to it, should they be commercial?
They're
instead of?
grandfathered in.
I know.
Oh, should they be?
But
Probably.
would that be the more appropriate zoning for them, is to move them to commercial zone?
It would.
And instead of an R2 zone?
There's also storage sheds there, but yeah.
I think they would have to retract their request
Yeah, they would.
and request
They'd
that
have
if
to
that's
go
the route they
to
wanted to go.
change in a different meeting, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What say you to that, Todd? Would that have to be changed?
Is he gone?
I don't know.
He's gone?
Yeah,
He's
he's
back
gone.
now.
I would want meets and bounds before we made a decision on that zoning.
Yeah,
Sorry, I had to break up a fight between my kids. Sorry. My wife is sick, and so I had a referee. We had a few punches thrown. So, what was that again?
So my question is that would it be more appropriate to zone the housing portion of this as residential and zone the campground part, the cabins as commercial, and then that would give them more flexibility on cabin sizes. And would they have to submit
I guess it could be done. You'd have to have a subdivision and a legal description to, for each one. So that would take however much time surveyor to get there to do that, and then map it based off of the legal description. So is the proposal, because it was either an R2 or R3, now you're throwing in also to do a commercial zone in that same parcel?
Yeah, so that would be my question is would that be appropriate to zone the cabins as commercial and the other as residential? And I imagine that tonight we could make it all residential. They could come back with a plat map and the design and request that the cabins be cut out as commercial or for a campground, and then that would allow them to be more flexible on their sizes.
You could do that and hold a second public hearing when they have that subdivision or that split done and hold that at a later date. You could do that.
Okay, but that would allow them to start moving forward.
Can I jump in and throw in a scenario? Why don't we do the same kind of process you're talking about, but we just review our motels lodging ordinance, because they're just looking for a zoning change tonight. They haven't brought in their plans fully yet, am I?
Not,
Right.
I mean.
It's not the full design. Right.
So why don't we review this lodging ordinance oh great, I already have it searched. We already have a lodging ordinance. I think we either make the zoning change, yay or nay, however you want it, but then for their housing project, we review that lodging ordinance that we already have and change the wording in there to say square footage size is this or that. The other reason to that is because there's a lot of times people have already come to me and talked about tiny home villages or things of that nature that people would like to do within the city. I think that lodging, motels, lodging ordinance can cover all that and cover it in this scenario.
Under the tourist homes.
Under the tourist homes. And then we don't have to have spot zoning of commercial within residential and R2 and R3 everywhere around it.
So I would make a motion that we approve parcel number 01-154B-0044 as R2, residential 2.
Would you be willing to add into your motion?
Okay.
Add in your motion that we also notify all property owners from Forest Street to Green River Boulevard along the street frontage there, including Patrick Dansky, the I-Camp, and Paul Bailey, as well as Jane Madsen, and I think the Terry's own another lot up there too, don't they?
What are you trying to add to the motion here? Hold on.
Just,
We're just kind of voting on.
let me finish,
Okay.
and then you'll know. Add that in as our intent to make notification to them that we would like to change their properties to R2 as well, for reasons of having a cohesive zoning map. So we have that
With the
on
appropriate
record.
notices.
With the appropriate, so we have that on record that we're going to do that, and this doesn't just fall on its face somewhere.
Can that all be part of the motion, or can that just be on record of?
I think that can be on record. We can't make it that in the motion because we can't say that without a public hearing first.
Okay.
Can you promise to have a public hearing?
But we can promise, yeah, you can say we can.
Public hearing, about expanding that zone.
All right, so for purposes of moving this forward, I will second that motion that Kim made.
Can I ask a question, just to verify the R2? Just make sure we don't do something that's not. So when you bring in that it says modular, these do not have to be modular cabins. Like they don't have to be on wheels, movable.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Just to make sure, he was just curious.
Yeah.
It
Like,
will
I've already
allow
talked-
you to do that if you want.
If you want,
want.
allow, but it
Don't have
does not
to.
have to. 'Cause
But
if
then you
that-
won't be able to build them.
Say, you build them on wheels.
I can build my wheel.
Oh, okay.
We just don't want to. Because I already talked to the building official and everything. He already told me like the best way to do this, and he said definitely modular isn't necessary. But I just want to make sure that that was not.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have to if we went to R2.
No.
You're bringing all your materials in on wheels, not helicopters, you told me.
Okay.
Do we have to repeat that motion, or are we good on that motion?
We have a first and a second, just need
Okay.
now.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay.
Motion.
Very good.
Passed to rezone as an R2 with other
So
public hearing
then,
stipulations.
so now I would say point of discussion, Kim. And
Okay, so
So,
no.
point of discussion, Madam Chair. The remaining parcels
Oh, one, okay.
that would include, and we'll have to get parcel numbers, but I can read you off the landowners that would be in question.
I'm wondering if we should do a
we don't have to be that specific.
first, before you get
Like,
that specific, just because
for our next meeting,
but there might be other places within the entire city we want to rezone this, not just surrounding that.
yeah.
Because right now, none of the mobile home parks are in compliance where they're at, so.
So for our next meeting, then, on discussion, we'll probably want to have this ready to go with a public hearing before the meeting as well.
That
Well,
works.
we can't do public hearings until we decide where we want to rezone.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, but, so, this one we can.
But I think if we're gonna rezone to R2 zones, we should maybe discuss, because there's no immediate action on pulling these other parcels around in. I think we should maybe discuss it first and look at where it makes the most sense.
Okay, so if we have more parcels, let's look at it before our next meeting.
Because I think, yeah,
And bring our ideas in and have it as a discussion item to prepare for our March meeting, have a public hearing and move on this in March. But next month, February, we can have a discussion about the areas that need to be changed to R2 to bring mobile home parks into compliance and
Okay.
straighten out the zoning map.
I can work on that. Okay.
That work? Okay.
Number 3, discuss approve deny changes to the fence ordinance 10-12-7, including but not limited to setback requirements, height regulations, and zones. So we have to have a motion on kind of one or the other of the proposed.
So I would make a recommendation that we add access language to either one, so that that either ordinance we adopt has access language to the backyard and to the front yard if it's over 4 feet.
I don't know if you can go to the backyard.
Yeah, which one?
The access to the
You're
backyard
saying for
for
both?
EMS is going to be through the house, traditionally.
Well, but for fire it would be around the side, so there should be.
For both options we have up here. Whichever.
Yep. So I
Are
would
you
suggest we
needing-
come up with some language for that before we choose which one.
I don't want to come with language without Tammy reviewing fire code, because I don't know for sure on those, and I don't want to put something that's not needed. I know you know.
How about this language that says that there shall be access to the back of the house
I don't know if that's required.
according
I don't
to
want to
fire
say that
code?
because I don't.
According to fire code requirements.
Just say access according to fire code requirements.
That works.
Just leave it at that.
Yeah, I would do back of house because I don't know if back of house is required at all.
Okay. So
We can say access per fire code requirements.
okay.
And that was,
And that would cover front and
We
back.
can get with Tammy and find out exactly what those are, and so that we're aware.
Yes.
And if there are none, then there are none.
Todd has his hand up.
Yes, Todd. What? Sorry. Chair.
So as far as fire code requirement for residential, there's not any requirements for fire access within fences and things around houses. Now there's in the commercial code, there's plenty of egress requirements for buildings, but residential code, there's really nothing that talks about access through fences on residential homes.
So for our community, do we need to specify that there should be access? Then what would be your recommendation?
I would say no. I would say if you put a fence around your house, there's access. Like, I'm not going to fence myself out of my own house or fence myself in my own house. So there's going to be access.
Yeah.
It's called prison.
And again, if your house if your house is on fire, we can take down your fence. So there's your option. You can give us a portal to go through, or we will pull out a saw and we'll take down your fence. So, or we'll drive a truck through your fence. I don't care at that point.
That's what I was saying.
So it's kind of a.
Okay.
well, I will make a motion to approve the first option.
Which one?
10-12-7 fences, walls, and hedges,
Oh, we just.
So-
with the red line changes. Unless there's more discussion, we can discuss the motion as it comes.
I think we have to distinguish which one you're
Yeah,
referring to.
That's
so
what I'm
page-
doing. But our first option, first page, with the red line on item 2, The fence, wall, or hedge is enclosing a side yard and or backyard and shall not extend beyond the front of the primary structure or the required front setback, whichever is a shorter distance from the street easement line. If height exceeds 6 feet, reference C of this code. And that's if you have any fence that goes over 6 feet, it has to be engineered.
So, but I do like the option of putting a 6-foot fence around your place if you have dogs or something like that. If you wanted to
Could
up
front of your home backwards.
And
Your backyard.
would you be, with the first page, would you be able to put a 6-foot non-side obscuring fence?
No.
It's limited to
No,
4.
let's see, non-side screen, at the first page, you can.
Does not exceed 4 feet in height.
Yeah. Part 1 is 4 feet.
That is within the front setback. So the first one is with a front setback of 20, 25 feet or whatever your home is. You can have a privacy fence up to the front base of your home, but not further to the street.
So I'm not talking a privacy fence. I'm talking an open
Same one,
chain
same
link
thing.
fence.
Yeah.
So first page leaves your
have to
front
go
fence
down to
lower.
4 feet.
Second page allows you to go 6 feet with non-side obscuring.
Yes.
Yeah.
My motion is to approve the first page.
Yeah.
I know.
You can vote against it.
This one is saying you don't have a height limit other than the engineering.
No, this is primary, shall not extend beyond the front of primary structure required front setback. You can go higher than 6.
You can't, yeah, so you
With-
can go up to 6.
Yeah, it just can't be.
So you can build the one that'll keep the dog in first.
Speak to us, Todd.
He just says building code requires anything over 7 feet to be engineered. Yes, you can still have a 6-foot fence up to the front of your house, whether it be side obscured or not.
So this is talking front yard.
Yeah.
But
Front yard would have to be
front yard has to be 4 feet non-obscured or 3 feet obscured. I hope I said that. The what?
No, on the first.
The first one.
This one's 6 feet, all around.
All around your house.
If it's non-side obscuring. If it's non-side obscuring.
Yeah. Side obscured up to the front of your home, but you can still have 6 feet side.
So you're saying, he did a motion on the first one, you're saying you like the second one.
That's because I did that. Sorry. I thought this was the one I said, so that's why.
With the 6 foot.
Sorry, guys, we can't say it for the record.
We're just kind of discussing which motion to go with here.
So, well, I hadn't made a motion. I was just talking over Ian's motion. I know.
He's muddy in the water. It's a parliamentary move.
Okay. Sorry, we have a motion. You want to call for a second?
Do we have a second on the first one?
Call it fence ordinance 6-foot with setback.
Fence ordinance, little fence front yard.
Okay. Perfect. I'm going to have to write that down on the paper now. You know
Okay, so no second on that.
Sorry, I would make a motion to go with the second page with 6 foot, with an option for 6-foot fence in front.
So a motion for tall non-side obscuring front fence.
Yeah.
I have a second on that.
I'm gonna second that.
Dustin's going to second that motion. Are you following, Julie? Our first motion.
The first one, we just threw it out?
The first
Phil.
motion, nobody seconded that.
Okay, so we're gonna go.
And Kim
with-
made a motion for the other ordinance. Dustin seconded it. All in favor of the other ordinance?
6-foot ordinance.
We'll kind of go roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Any opposed?
opposed.
He's opposed, so can't.
Passes by majority.
Green River has officially become the first city in the United States to approve tall fences in front yards.
Maybe it'll still solve our dog problem.
It's still America down here.
Yeah.
Most of the time they don't have a fence.
I agree. I don't disagree with it. I just.
All right, we're on to the fun one. Discuss, approve, deny extractive industry and mineral processing conditional use permit for Blackstone Mineral.
Do they have any representatives present?
We have Michael Swenson on. I mean, if you want to take comment, you can, but Mike is here if you guys have any questions.
So just some kind of clarification on this. There's been a lot of talk around this, but so what is within city limits is a parcel. I think we've talked a little bit about is there. What's the word I'm looking for? Exploratory mining there. That I believe is what the conditional use is, and it has a timeline attached to it. Kim has a little further feedback with that, but in their narrative, they attach a timeline with 6 to 18 months for this parcel. They're asking for this conditional use, and with that, they will have to follow our general conditions, which we will read, and then we also have the added mineral processing conditions, which we kind of discussed in our meeting right before this, of the things that were added in with drilling, other extraction methods. So those are some additional conditions that are added onto it. It's because of what they are. So one thing, just proposing to the rest of the commission, since they are putting a timeline kind of on themselves, I think it could be appropriate for us to put a timeline on the permit. And if they do decide to actually have production within that parcel they're asking for that, then they have to reapply for that condition. And that gives us some time to... You're looking at me weird, Tyler.
I'm just comprehending. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm just kind of making this up. Like my interpretation of this. And that gives us some time to potentially, like we said, this is our first one where we're adopting in this new ordinance as part of the conditions. It gives us some time to realize where their problems might rise. Because it does have that, we could potentially attach that timeline because they would be changing what they're doing on there.
Okay.
Well, the timeline, that timeline they provided, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, that timeline is just to get the wellhead and the Christmas tree in place.
It's expected the facility will operate for 6 to 18 months.
Oh, okay, sorry. I must have misheard.
That's correct, and let me just add, so this is a pilot plant. This is a extremely small scale pilot and demonstration plant where we're proving out our technology and showing folks in real time that we can pull the brine from the ground underneath our feet that has lithium in it, and then we can process it on a very small scale. So I'm not sure what you meant by processing. We will be doing processing. It's my understanding we're not selling it in the marketplace. It's really for demonstration purposes for both the public and for groups that may want to come through, and to refine our process. There's a lot of refinement we're looking at in terms of water utilization. Basically, how do we make it more efficient and work better on a small scale before we go to engineering and building the full-scale operation.
So this has an expiration to it, no matter how much success you find in...
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if we're going to drill an exploratory well, and if the lithium isn't there in the concentrations that we've modeled and estimate, this might be a 2-week operation. So, which we hope that's not what it is. But yeah, it's expected, and I've been given a pretty big time window that we could run for 6 months, we could run for 18. If there's a need for us for some reason to go longer, then I would revisit this and come back to planning and zoning to the city and say, hey, look, we'd like to extend, and this is why. At this point, I don't have any plans to do that. And that's a pretty broad window, but that's the time frame that we're being given, is 6 to 18 months.
I'm not sure if we can put time limits on a conditional use because it goes with the land.
I mean, we're going to self-limit anyway. If believe me, if we have a good process and we are able to secure the financing, then we may want to build the plant sooner. If it takes longer, it may take us longer.
So we can specify that the approval only applies for this project, and an expansion of this project would require an additional conditional use.
I think we can go that route for sure.
Yes. So that, yeah, so I think that would be appropriate. So one thing that I did notice on timing, and I don't know which page it's on again, but it says this, just to help you find it, this notice must include a detailed reclamation plan that must be approved if the area is to be disturbed is greater than 5 acres. Include this plan as a separate document. Proposed proposed exploration schedule begin October 23, end January 23. Do you wish to revise those dates?
What page are you referring?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you.
Looks like page...
Oh,
Page 7.
yeah, okay, page 7.
I think is that our Dogum application?
It may be.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
that's what that is. So that is not our application. You're not reviewing or approving our Dogum application. I provided that for reference material for you to see that we're going through the regulatory process with Dogum. And so that reclamation and all of that pertains to Dogum and will be enforced as we're approved by Dogum.
Okay.
I'm not asking the city to approve our Dogum permit. It's kind of outside the jurisdiction.
All right. Just as long as it doesn't limit you to those dates is what I was concerned about.
I appreciate that. I'll let our guys know, but I think we're okay.
Okay. Then I do not see anything on a settling pond in there.
We don't use settling.
So there is no settling pond planned or...
we never have, and I
Right.
just about guarantee we never will.
So that would require an additional conditional permit if there was a settling pond to be permitted.
No problem.
What about a sewer?
It's been approved by the health department for a septic.
Very good.
And okay. So, and then for point of order, I guess, under our health and safety criteria, can we include the following stipulations that no lithium or other extracted minerals shall be deposited outside the extraction facility? And number 2, no lithium or other extracted materials or hazardous materials may remain on site at the conclusion of the project. And number 3, all potentially hazardous chemicals at the site shall be fully disclosed, including maximum quantity to the fire department and health department upon request. Can we add those as conditional to our conditional use for this?
Can I see your list? Sorry. I just can't memorize all those.
Yeah, so
If I add conditions, it has to be something in our ordinance that we have.
So I would think that would fall under health and safety requirements.
Mike, do you have somewhere in this document stating where you can't have any lithium?
No, not at all. And I mean, I guess
on the property, off the property.
Well, outside of
the. We're not going to have a pile of lithium sitting on the ground.
In the ordinance that the council, that's in the ordinance that the council just adopted.
Okay, let me review the general review criteria.
I mean, I might add that we're under the jurisdiction of the Department of Environmental Quality for hazardous materials, storage, and handling, so we're going to have to comply with that.
Well, I mean, my concern is that, I mean, we have a capped uranium tailings that are adjacent to that property. We don't need other chemicals out there that are byproducts of any process that are left out there. So
Are you talking about reclamation when we're done with the property or something like that?
Well, just overall that outside of the extraction facility there wouldn't be any lithium or extracted materials, and when you're at the conclusion of the project, all of those would be removed.
And you're tying this to a conditional use?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if we can.
It may not allay your concerns, but we have to handle those things in a way that is good for us and good for our property. We're not going to leave lithium sticking around. That's very valuable to us. I'm not sure that there's a concern here that we can, I'm not sure how to address your concern.
Just say that it won't be left on site after you're done.
Well, we have that already. Yeah, we already have that in our review.
Okay. If you feel like we addressed it in the other questions, then we can go on to those. Okay. I don't have any other discussion.
So we will read the general review criteria and then read the additional, correct?
Yeah.
Whew, all right. Everybody buckle up. We have to review this criteria. This is just for the applicant's reference and our reference that they're kind of checking all these boxes. Any violations of these is where problems can arise, so the applicant knowing these as well is important. So as far as our general review criteria on a conditional use permit, A, the application complies with all applicable provisions of this chapter, state, and federal law. B, the structures associated with the use are compatible and complementary with surrounding structures in terms of use, scale, mass, and circulation. C, the use is not detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare. D, the use is consistent with the City of Green River's general plan. E, traffic conditions are not adversely affected by the proposed use, including the existence or need for dedicated turn lanes, pedestrian access, and capacity of existing streets. F, that in no way will the use impede the site triangle of any intersecting street. G, there is sufficient utility capacity. H, there is sufficient emergency vehicle access. I, the location and design of off-street parking as well as compliance with off-street parking standards. J, a plan for fencing, screening, and landscaping to separate the use from adjoining uses and mitigate the potential for conflicting uses. K, that exterior lighting complies with the lighting standards of the zone. L, that within and adjoining the site, impacts on the aquifer, slope retention, and flood potential have been fully mitigated and is appropriate to the topology of the site. M, no noise, dust, smoke, fumes, trespassing light, or any deleterious or adverse effects shall be allowed to permeate from the property. So those are our general criteria. And
do you have the code? Did you say the code?
10-13-4.
So when
and then our newly adopted.
Kent has a comment on it.
Kim brought up some stuff on the detrimental to public health and safety. One condition Kim brought up in there was that might be a good idea is making any and all chemicals that they have on site for the purpose of doing, making a list of what they have and the quantities available to the Green River Fire Department at all times.
I would assume upon request they would disclose that to us, yeah.
We can tie it to the chemical ordinance, so that one we can do.
Yeah, well, that was something that Kim felt like should be done, and I wanted to make sure we brought that back up and add that in.
We would certainly not be opposed to the fire department knowing what we have on site. We don't have anything scary anyway, but that's not a problem at all.
We appreciate that. We just have some other people in the community that are not willing to be that forthcoming, and so I think that should be part of the ordinances going forward.
And keep in mind, this is a shipping container. This is very, very small scale stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think also, this is Steph, the commission chair. I'm also the assistant chief of the fire department, so I think if you are open to, even a few of us, once you're kind of up in operation, just coming and seeing your site, and we love to get feedback from, if there is any issues, what should we do as well, and you can educate us, so.
Part of the purpose of this pilot plan is so that we can educate the public. It has a lot of uses for us, but it's so the community can see what we're doing and understand what we're doing on a small scale, get your head around it.
Okay, I will move on to our newly adopted one. I don't have the first part. Do you have the code?
So it says ordinance 2024-01, section M1.
It's not that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let me find it for you.
Were you going to read it, Tyler? Is that what you offered?
Yeah, do you want me to read the section?
Oh, right.
It's 10-13-5 M.
N?
M.
M.
as in
Mary.
Mama.
Okay.
All right, so within that, so M is the extractive industry. One is drilling. So within that, A, no well shall be drilled in any location nearer than 400 feet from any residence or building without the applicant first having secured the written permission of the owner or owners therefor. B, it shall be unlawful for any person to permit any drilling rig or derrick to remain on the premises or drilling site for a period longer than 60 days after completion or abandonment of the well. C, it shall be unlawful for any person to permit to escape any mud, water, oil, slush, or other waste matter related to the drilling or operating of any well into any adjoining lots upon which the permittee does not have leases or other contractual rights to use the surface, or upon leases not owned by the permittee, or into alleys, streets, gutters, or sewers of the city. D, all wellheads, tank batteries, pump units, and equipment appurtenant therefore to within the city, where are located within a densely populated area or nearer than 100 feet to a public street, shall be adequately protected by a fence so constructed that it will prevent easy entry. Any wellhead, tank, battery, pumping unit, or equipment therefore, which is located on the leased tract or farm, which is fenced in its entirety, will require no additional protection other than that commonly used by pertinent operators. The premises shall be kept clear of high grass, weeds, incombustibles, trash, or any other rubbish or debris that might constitute a fire hazard within a radius of 100 feet around the oil tank or tanks or producing wells, or to the limits of premises, whichever is lesser. Within 15 days after the completion or abandonment of the well, the mud and other similar matter and materials used in connection with drilling and operations thereon shall be removed from the premises. All luminaries, including security lighting, shall be aimed and shielded so that the direct illumination shall be confined to the property boundaries of the source and direct glare is not visible from adjacent properties. We go over the other extractive methods as well.
Would you like? Yes, that's part of it.
Okay.
They don't necessarily apply because they're doing drilling. Other extraction methods.
This applies to the building.
Extractive.
This is other extraction methods like an open quarry or something. They're doing drilling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the general criteria and the extractive industry additional criteria is on record.
Have you spoke with the Army about their buildings? Just a question, this 400 feet, I'm pretty sure you're going to give them 400 feet of some building.
Residential building.
Residence or building.
Or building? I didn't see that, sorry. No, there's nothing within 400 feet. Well,
Yeah,
There's not, I measured it.
there's not, okay.
cool.
Unless you count the abandoned army shacks.
That is,
Well, just from the drill head though. Drill site,
Yeah, not from the drill, not from the well, no.
yeah.
Okay, does the commission have any other discussion on this? Do I have any motion?
Motion to approve
First by Ken,
Any conditions?
with the
Fire.
condition that King
Chemical
put on there on
conditions?
the chemicals.
Okay.
Being disclosed to the fire department.
so all potentially hazardous chemicals at the site shall be fully disclosed, including maximum quantity to the fire department and health department upon request.
I want to borrow that from you.
Okay. How's that for language for that? Okay.
have a second on the
I'll
motion?
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the conditional use permit passes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Start
Thank
construction
you all.
tomorrow.
Mike.
I will get back to you tomorrow, Mike, and provide you the CUP.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, anything else, anybody else? We will adjourn at 8:22.
Because they talked about lights there and they talked about drainage. And that road doesn't have any drainage now where they fill it all up with gravel, which would be a problem there, for snow removal. And it's all on one side, the water comes into the road, and it drains off on the other side. And they're not